Exposed, 10 spine-chilling true Alaskan horror stories that reveal haunted and sinister secrets. Jenna had only just settled in when the whispers began. Broken Haven, with its hauntingly beautiful landscapes, felt alive. The wind wove through the trees like an eerie song, but it wasn't the melody that caught her attention, it was the dissonance, the chilling tones that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. She tried to shake off the feeling. She was a single mother, a survivor. But moving to a remote Alaskan town after fleeing an abusive relationship felt like signing her own death warrant. Amid the biting cold, the townsfolk wore smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Mrs. Whitman, her neighbor, stood outside every day. Hollow eyes followed Jenna and her kids. That penetrating gaze, soaking in every detail, felt like a warning. There was something about the way she glanced at the children, as if sizing them up. Jenna's heart raced. Were they checking for weaknesses? Even the locals who welcomed them felt off, their friendly gestures laced with an unspoken judgment. The snow crunched unnaturally underfoot, amplifying Jenna's paranoia. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna's daughter, Mia, pointed to the strange footsteps forming patterns in the snow, always leading to nowhere. Jenna's chest tightened with a sense of dread. She heard whispers from the others, murmurs about a presence that lingered in the woods, watching, waiting. The Watcher. Just the name sent cold shivers through her. Even the sheriff brushed off her concerns, a mocking smile dancing on his lips. Nothing to worry about, he said, but Jenna felt the truth lurking behind those words. One day, Liam, her son, bolted outside, laughing with the local teens. Panic pierced through Jenna as she stood on the porch, calling after him. Shadows whispered along the edges of the clearing, and the woods felt too quiet, too still. Every echo was that laughter. Her voice turned harsh, fear clawing at her throat. Jenna chased after him, heart racing as the forest loomed larger. The trees seemed to lean in, eyes hidden among the branches, suffocating her with their silence. Liam! She screamed, but the woods swallowed her sound. Her instincts blared like an alarm as she stumbled deeper into the underbrush. With every creak of the frozen ground, a heavy dread swelled inside her. What if the whispers were warnings she had ignored? The stories echoed in her head, tales of children lost to the Watcher, wild eyes, rustling snow. Mrs. Whitman's mutterings enveloped her, the weight of the town's secret pressing down like the thick, suffocating cold. As the winter storm rolled in, Jenna felt the weight of unseen eyes watching her every move. A piercing scream tore through the air, but it wasn't Liam returning, it was the wind, or so she told herself. Racing footsteps behind her sent her heart into a frenzy. Shadows stretched and morphed, and her resolve frayed. Had Liam become another victim of the sinister history entwined with the town? For every gentle flake that fell, dread deepened, pulling her further into a darkness she could barely comprehend. The climax of her fears crashed over her like the avalanche of white surrounding her. She turned, lungs burning with the icy air, bracing for whatever nightmare awaited her. The realization struck like lightning: the Watcher was no mere legend. It was alive, watching her, entwining her family into a chilling mystery. A twig snapped in the distance, heart racing. Jenna wondered if she would ever escape this cruel winter night. Was it Liam returning, or was something far more sinister lurking, watching, ready to strangle her hope? The frost bit into Jenna's face as she turned, eyes darting through the flurry of shadows. The deepening twilight cast long, eerie shapes against the snow, dancing with unseen movement that tugged at her sanity. Liam! She shouted, her voice cracking, desperate urgency clawing at her throat. Every heartbeat echoed danger, every gust of wind whispered promises of despair. Just ahead, the tree line fractured in a way that embodied her fears. It wasn't just the sickness of the snow, there was something deeper hidden in that wood, twisting her breath sharp with dread. Shadows flitted back and forth as if alive, and Jenna stepped cautiously, hoping to silence the cacophony of panic spiraling within her. Through her trembling hands, she caught glimpses of the path, the fresh footprints now muddled, leading to a small clearing aglow with a spectral light. It pulsated, a ghostly beacon calling her deeper into the forest's grip. She could almost hear Liam's voice, playful and light, urging her to follow. But that childlike laughter felt too naive now, too tainted by the dread slithering in her gut. Suddenly, a bone-rattling howl echoed through the trees. Jenna froze, blood turning to ice. The fog thickened around her, and she strained to listen, desperation scratching at her senses. The whisperings intensified, a language too sinister to comprehend, threading its way through her mind like twisted vines. "No, no," she murmured, shaking her head as thoughts of the Watcher surged forward. She remembered Mrs. Whitman's hollow expression, the hushed warnings about those who lingered in the woods. With each passing moment, the knot in her stomach tightened, a reminder that she was alone, a stranger in this alien landscape. "Liam!" She shouted again, piercing the suffocating quiet. But the trees swallowed her voice, steeping the air in an unforgiving silence. Then, through the bitter chill, a soft rustle, like a child catching their breath. Hope flickered, she pushed forward, racing toward the sound, breathless as fear lent her strength. Each step caused the snow to crunch like bones beneath her weight, the world around her heavy with an age-old tension. It was a battle, her will against unseen forces that pulsed in the air, seeking to ensnare her, and then she saw him. Liam stood, his back to her, staring off into the thickening shadows, lost to the encroaching dark. A fleeting silhouette sprang to life, gliding between the trees, a flicker of movement that sent ripples of terror down her spine. The child didn't speak, he stood frozen, entranced by whatever secret danced just beyond the veil of trees. "Liam, come back." Panic fueled her now. She rushed forward, hands reaching out as she wrestled with involuntary dread coiling around her heart. But the moment she touched his shoulder, an icy chill seared through her fingers. Something deeper than winter gripped him, as if the forest sought to hold him captive. He turned slowly, eyes vacant, no longer her son but a vessel lost to the forest's malevolence. The whispers grew louder, words she couldn't understand, weaving a tapestry of horror that tightened around them both. "What have you found?" she whispered, feeling the weight of forgotten truths crash down like an avalanche. Beyond the clearing, a shadow unfurled, a dark figure emerging from the trees. It loomed larger, a terrifying grin stretching across its face as it lingered just out of reach. Jenna's heart raced, fear pulsating like a drum. With every second, the darkness drew closer. The icy tendrils of despair nudged at her resolve. As dread suffocated her thoughts, one chilling realization hit her: this was no mere spirit haunting the woods. This was the Watcher, and it had come for her family. Grabbing Liam's wrist, she prepared to run, but the ground beneath her shifted with howling winds, threatening to uproot their very existence. She felt its hunger, she felt it drawing them in. With every ounce of will, she tightened her grip and began to pull him away, but the shadows shifted around them, whispering promises and mockery. Would the depths of the woods claim them both? Breath-stealing terror filled the air as they stumbled. Would they escape the dark intentions of the Watcher, or had she just signed their fate? Staggering back into the night, Jenna cast one last desperate glance at the darkness, knowing that whatever waited would follow, and there was no assurance another scream would break the silence again. But could the town's melody of madness be enough to save them? What other horrors lay in wait just beyond the black veil of the night? The cold penetrated Jenna's very bones as she yanked Liam's arm, urgency flooding her with renewed strength. She looked back, heart racing, eyes scanning the shadows. The looming figure had vanished, but its presence still clutched at her mind. The forest felt alive, each crack of a branch echoing like bones breaking in the dark. "Stay close," she urged, pulling him along. The snow crunched beneath their feet, a stark reminder of their vulnerability amidst the consuming cold and horror. Jenna felt dread threading through the air like a living thing, wrapping tighter around her throat. "Mom, it hurts." Liam's voice stumbled in a whisper, faltering under the weight of the shadows that hemmed them in. He winced, gripping his wrist where she held him. Panic shot through her like a poison. She couldn't let go, they had to escape. "Just a little more, buddy," she choked out, forcing conviction into her words. The whispers began again, hushed at first, then swelling like approaching storm clouds that it felt like the forest knew them, its every breath laced with malice. They staggered through the clearing where the spectral light had danced, now just a fading memory. The wind howled, carrying voices that twisted her name, turning it into a taunt. Jenna pressed onward, desperation lending her feet wings. Then she felt a shift in the snow, the ground giving way, revealing a deeper layer beneath, like the forest was peeling back its skin to reveal a cavernous throat. It felt hungry, wanting to swallow them whole. "Mom!" Liam cried, but she had no time to reassure him. She flung herself forward as darkness lunged, trying to reach them. There was no safety, no reprieve from the relentless grasp of the Watcher. Fear gripped her heart, squeezing it as she pushed onward, eyes trailing the flickering shadows in their wake. "What do you want from us?" she screamed, madness on her lips. The trees seemed to shudder at her cry, their branches twisting violently as if in response. The shadows swirled, warping shapes and faces that danced just out of reach, whispering promises of warmth, safety, a loving home. Too late, she understood that the whispers lured rather than liberated. "Keep running," she urged, eyes widening in terror. Her heart ached for Liam. But as they stumbled forward, a figure appeared in the light of the dying sun. Mrs. Whitman. Jenna's heart sank. The town's warnings had been etched in the lines of the old woman's face, but Jenna had chosen to dismiss them, thinking they were mere tales to scare children. Now, here was evidence of truth. "Help us!" Jenna cried, but the woman stood silent, her eyes glassy and otherworldly. Beneath the layers of tragedy, Jenna felt the change in the air every time the Watcher neared. The woman's thin lips curled into a smile that was not a smile but a warning. The ground rumbled again, and Jenna faltered, stumbling backward. The forest creaked, tension mounting. Liam's grip on her wrist slackened. The dark had reached for him. "Liam!" she screamed. In that moment, everything slowed. The ethereal light flickered one last time before plunging them into a cold void. Shadows engulfed them. The sound of her son's name echoed, swallowed by a deep cavernous silence. Was this the Watcher's true form? Was it consuming them, preparing to pull Liam away into a nightmare? Jenna's breath seized, knowing she might lose him to the darkness forever, and then the whispering stopped. "Mom!" came a feeble call, just faint enough to set her heart on fire. Jenna turned, desperately searching the suffocating darkness, yearning for her son's face. What had become of Liam? Was he still with her? The forest trembled, and she knew the shadows were not finished with them yet. But as panic clawed at her sanity, one horrifying thought echoed against her will. What if they had become a part of the forest's darkness, bound by ties that could never be severed? Ignoring the chill creeping up her spine, Jenna felt the sudden urge to fight. And in the heart of the night, deep within the woods, the true battle was only just beginning. Jenna's pulse drummed in her ears, drowning out the echoes of the whispers that seemed to creep closer, wrapping around her like icy fingers. Panic surged through her as she blinked against the dark, eyes wide, searching for the boy whose voice had brought her back from the brink of despair. "Liam!" she called, but the chill in her words froze in the air. The abyss swallowed her voice, masking any sounds that might confirm he was still there, still safe. She took a step forward, heart racing. The shadows shifted at the edges, and she felt them watching, waiting to devour the light. "Liam!" she shouted again, the desperation clawing at her throat, rasping against the raw remnants of her strength. A flicker of movement caught her eye, and head spinning, she turned sharply to the right, where the cold mist twisted through the trees. "Please, where are you?" A rustle echoed. Was it him? Hope sparked in her chest, only to die again as she drove herself deeper into the suffocating darkness. The world around her felt alive, a beast breathing and shifting, clawing at her sanity. She stumbled through the trees, branches reached out like clawing fingers, tearing at her skin, threatening to pull her into their gnarled embrace. Liam. Suddenly, she heard him again, a soft whimper mingling with the rustling leaves. Relief surged through her. I'm coming. With every step, dread clung to her like a second skin, suffocating and heavy. But she pushed forward, bolstered by the flame of maternal instinct. As she navigated through the dense thicket, the branches snaked their way around her, dragging against her clothes and leaving deep, angry scratches on her arms. The shadows danced in her periphery, twisted figures stirring, taunting her. Mom. Liam's voice was weaker now, frayed with fear. It drove her onward, a beacon in the black. Where are you? I see you. I'm almost there. She yelled, her breath hitching in her throat, desperation clawing at her voice. Then she saw him, his small frame huddled against the base of a tree, pale and shivering, eyes wide with a terror that mirrored her own. The world around him seemed to quiver, as if it, too, was afraid of what lurked in the shadows. Liam. She rushed forward, throwing herself down beside him, wrapping her arms around his trembling body. For a moment, a flicker of warmth ignited between them, yet the cold that enveloped them was relentless. I thought I lost you, she whispered, her voice breaking. But the warmth quickly faded as she glanced around, the oppressive shadows thickening, closing in on them, a crushing weight that threatened to crush her spirit. And then she felt it, a presence looming beyond the veil of darkness. Something was reaching for them, an indescribable hunger hanging in the air, prickling her skin. No, Jenna gasped, eyes darting around. We have to go. But Liam shook his head, terror pooling in his wide eyes. I can't. It won't let me. Her heart plummeted, dread coiling like a snake within her gut. The stories of possession, of surrender, of losing a child to the darkness threatened to consume her. No way. She growled, pulling him to his feet. We're not waiting for it to take you. We're leaving. As they stumbled away, the whispers returned, now shrill and mocking, echoing Liam's name as if it were a sacrificial offering. Jenna pushed forward, but the very ground trembled beneath them, pulsating as if it had a heartbeat of its own. Mom! Liam cried out, his voice rising above the cacophony of darkness. What if we can't escape it? The words clawed at her heart, the fear crawling deeper into her mind. What if they weren't fast enough? What if they had already been claimed? Hold on. Jenna vowed under her breath, determination smoldering in her chest. They pressed on, adrenaline surging as the air thickened, but with every step they took, the forest grew darker, more sinister. Shadows swirled, and the whispers turned to screams, and then, from the corner of her eye, she saw it. A figure emerging, tall, grotesque, a silhouette woven from the depths of nightmares. Run! She shrieked, yanking Liam's hand, but the creature was quicker. It lunged with unfathomable speed, its claws splayed wide and hungry. As they fled, a horrific thought struck her. Had they truly escaped the clutches of the Watcher? Or was it already too late? The chase led them deeper into the heart of darkness, into spaces unspeakable where even the trees seemed to lean away in fear. The whispers escalated, shrill with laughter, and beyond the flicker of light they chased, another thought lingered, haunting and terrible. What if escaping was never an option? But in that moment, they had no choice but to keep running, and in the dark, Jenna felt the chill of her son slipping from her grasp. Jenna's grip on Liam tightened as they dashed through the smothering dark. The panic clawed at her, clawing as fiercely as the branches that reached out, scraping against her skin in a desperate attempt to slow them down. Each ragged breath sang of fear, darkness nipping at their heels. Faster! She urged breathlessly, her voice raw. The whispers flared around them, now shrieked with terrifying clarity, a chorus chanting his name like a twisted hymn, a ritual begging for their surrender. Mom! Liam cried again, his desperation lancing straight through her heart. It's behind us, isn't it? She dared a glance over her shoulder, and terror ripped through her gut. It was there, that shadow, no longer an abstract terror but a monstrous figure, towering and deformed. Its eyes glowed like dying stars, endless black that seemed to drink in the very light of hope. Jenna felt icy fingers twitch at her nape. It seemed to revel in their fear, the maddening rhythm of its breath mingling with their frantic flight. Each heartbeat screamed unsafe. And still they plunged deeper into the forest's belly, where the light began to extinguish, swallowed by the ever-encroaching night. Why won't it just leave us alone? She thought, arching her back against despair. I don't know, Liam whispered. It wants something. What if it wants me? No. She shook her head fiercely, trying to shake away the reality. You're mine. But the darkness coiled tighter, and with each thundering heartbeat, she felt her resolve slipping. What had she done to invite this horror upon them? Memories of childish arguments over past due bills, petty disagreements, the embarrassment of a splash of soda on his new shoes came rushing back. Would these trivial worries be the cause of their demise? Mom, his voice cracked, breaking through her dark thoughts. The vulnerability in her son's tone sent a shiver racing down her spine. I'm tired. Just a little further, sweetheart. She urged, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her uncertainty. They crested a ridge, the forest thinning momentarily into a wide, desolate expanse. The moon hung low, casting eerie silver beams that flickered like a heart ready to stop. That way. She pointed, spotting a narrow trail leading to a locked gate that she could barely see through the haze of shadows gathering at the edges of her vision. If we can reach the path, we can get to town. But Liam hesitated. Behind them, the creature surged from the shadows, muscles rippling under skin mottled and grotesque. It was faster, prowling like a dark predator reclaiming its prey. Go! Jenna urged, giving him a push towards the path. But as she prepared to follow, the world around them blurred, the air thickening into a vile mist. It struck her this wasn't just a creature. It was a force, an ancient malevolence birthed of the forest's own soul. The whispers, now frenzied, called out both in mockery and anticipation, echoing through gloom. You cannot escape, you belong to us now. The shadows shifted, coiling toward her as she stood frozen. The weight of dread anchored her, buried under layers of unspeakable fear. There was an ache in her chest. Was Liam really safe? Would he truly make it beyond the gate? Liam! She shouted again, the name torn from her throat. Panic surged anew, electrifying her limbs. But his eyes held fear, a blend of doubt and guilt. Mom, what if? Don't say it. She lunged because that's all she could do. The weight of the moment suspended between them, thick with despair. And just then, the unmistakable sound of a foghorn blasted, reverberating through the trees, a signal of chaos erupting near the edge of their world. Were they hidden just within its reach? What would happen if they were caught? If they couldn't escape this wretched night? Without another thought, Jenna grabbed Liam, determination igniting a raw bravery. We can't stop. Not now. But even as they bolted toward the path, the shadows conspired to close in around them, eager to claim what was theirs. And Jenna felt the bitter truth. There was a thin line between safety and oblivion. She wasn't sure they could cross. Then, just as they reached the gate, a voice deep and resonant pierced through the turmoil. You think you can flee? You've only just arrived. The gate creaked open, revealing the expanse of the unknown beyond. With the weight of terror pushing them forward, they took a step. But what awaited them on the other side? The gate swung open with a groan that echoed like a death knell. The air beyond was thicker, suffused with an unnatural stillness that dripped with dread. Jenna felt it press against her skin, clinging like sweat, heavy and oppressive. She pulled Liam closer, taking a step into the unknown, heart racing wildly as her senses heightened to an unbearable degree. The ground morphed underfoot, changing from hard-packed earth to something softer, the dampness absorbing the warmth from her feet. The perimeter of the clearing was shrouded in mist, and through the haze, horrible shapes twisted wildly, though their meaning eluded her. The world had shifted violently, had turned inexplicably darker. It's different," Leah murmured, eyes darting around, scanning the encroaching shadows with pure childlike fear. "Stay close," Jenna hissed, straining to catch any sound other than their breaths. The foghorn from the distance had faded into a haunting echo, replaced by an eerie silence. Every rustle and whisper combined to create a symphony of sinister anticipation. It squeezed the breath from her lungs, leaving her gasping for clarity. The whispers returned, clearer than before, curling around her like tendrils of smoke. "You're not safe, it's never safe." Jenna turned sharply, searching the darkness, feeling the cold knot of panic twist tighter in her abdomen. "No. Where are you?" she shouted, willing the shadows to answer her call, and then from the depths of the mist, a figure began to coalesce. It moved with a liquid grace, sliding through the fog as if it were part of it. Jenna's heart plummeted as she recognized the lank and twisted shape, the unnatural way its limbs stretched too far, too long. It wore the face of someone she once knew, the look of someone who had belonged to the living, yet spoke with words dripping ash and regret. "Mom," Liam whispered, his voice like glass shattering in a silent room. "No." Jenna screamed, an instinctual surge of protectiveness surging through her veins. "Don't look, Liam. Run." But before she could take a step, the figure lunged, its mouth twisting into a grotesque smile, revealing rows of jagged teeth that gleamed in the moonlight like shards of broken glass. "We just want to play," it cackled, the sound clawing at Jenna's sanity, pulling her deeper into despair. In that moment, the ground beneath them trembled. The trees, those sentinel guardians of the dark, began to sway and groan as if they were alive, crying out for the intruders to be consumed. The whispers merged into a cacophony, rising in pitch, sounding like a sickening opera of lamentation. Jenna felt her legs lock as terror paralyzed her. "Don't go near it." But Liam, seemingly under a spell, stumbled forward, his small feet unwittingly drawing him closer to the wraith-like figure. Mom, the darkness thickened around them, blacker than any night she had ever known. A chill swept through the air, sending her heart racing, each beat growing louder, more frantic. The creature crouched, its smile widening, eyes alight with malicious glee. "Your boy belongs to us now," it hissed, tongue flicking out like a serpent's, tasting the air, tasting their fear. "Liam!" Jenna bellowed again, lunging forward. She snatched him back just as the figure lunged, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a wild drum. The force shoved them both to the soft ground as the creature's laughter echoed around them, mocking her efforts. "Run, Jenna! Please!" Liam cried, scrambling to his feet, his fear palpable and escalating. Jenna seized his hand, feeling the pulsing warmth of their bond against the cold hollow of despair enveloping them. She glanced around, frantic, searching for a path, any path that might lead them from this nightmare. And through the swirling mist, she spotted a flicker of light, a dim flame twinkling like a beacon of hope. "Over there!" Jenna shouted, pulling Liam toward it. They bolted, shadows looming close, clawing at them, desperate to reclaim what had been lost. As they neared the light, another figure emerged. This one was different. Its features were indistinct, hazy, yet it seemed to emanate warmth rather than dread. "Help! Please!" Jenna pleaded, heart racing in disbelief, but just as they approached, the whispers crescendoed, the fog growing thicker, licking at their ankles like hungry flames. "You cannot escape your fate, the night is ours." Jenna's fingers trembled around Liam's as she fought to maintain her footing. The cruel laughter faded momentarily, replaced by something darker far behind them. "It is coming for you." With every ounce of resolve, they sprinted toward the light. If they could reach it, maybe they could find safety. But what if that light was just another trap, masking the true horror lurking in the shadows? The darkness surged behind them like a wave, hungry and relentless, and all Jenna could do was keep running, praying with everything inside her that the light didn't betray them. What lay waiting for them within its glow? The moment they burst into the light, Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The glow was warm, almost ethereal, illuminating the thick mist that had clung to them like an unwanted shroud. It sent sparkling shadows dancing across the ground, yet something felt wrong. The glee of the creature's laughter still echoed in her ears, reminding her they were not free. What is this place? Liam asked, his eyes wide as he took in the strange surroundings. The light wasn't a steady beam, it flickered, pulsing like a heartbeat, revealing fleeting glimpses of their surroundings, a circle of stones, worn and ancient, each etched with unclear symbols. It's a clearing, Jenna whispered. The glow felt deceptive, promising sanctuary yet lurking with malevolence. The air crackled with a tension that made her skin crawl, and despite the warmth, she felt ice creeping back into her veins. Stay close, Liam, she said, her voice trembling as she scanned the surroundings. Shadows slithered at the edges, retreating only to inch closer again, eternally hungry. I want to go home, Liam whined, pressing against her thigh. Home. The word twisted in Jenna's gut. Where was home now? Here, enveloped in this horror, or in the memories of the life they had left behind? Then, the whispers returned, louder, mingling mercilessly with the rustling of leaves. You found us, you're trapped in our heart now forever. Suddenly, the stones began to pulse rhythmically, in sync with the whispers, like a heartbeat. Jenna's heart raced. What do they want? She muttered, half to herself, half to the darkness. A figure emerged from the shadows, stepping forward with deliberate slowness, cloaked in wisps of fog that clung to its form like a shroud. Jenna's breath hitched as she recognized the long, skeletal limbs, the hollow eyes that glimmered with an unholy light. They weren't just shapes in the mist, they were the cries of lost souls, forever wandering this cursed realm. Join us, the figure rasped, its voice a chilling echo that filled the space, wrapping around Jenna's heart like a vice. You don't have to run anymore. The darkness welcomes you, know. Jenna shouted fiercely, anger fueling her resolve. She grabbed Liam's wrist, as if that simple gesture could shield him from the overarching shadow. We will find a way out. But the ground trembled beneath them, shifting and swirling, refusing to let them leave so easily. The stones began to ignite, glowing with a crimson hue that turned Jenna's stomach. The flames danced dangerously close but did not burn, instead enveloping them both in a disorienting haze. The whispers twisted into laughter, mocking her futile defense. Join us, they sang, a sinister choir harmonizing in the torment of the lost. Their reality poured over with dread, and Jenna felt a shift, something deeper, something ancient, a force that pulled at the very essence of her and Liam's connection. It was an intoxicating lure, promising peace over the aching terror. No. She cried again, fighting against the encroaching despair. Not like this. But Liam's eyes widened, unfocused, as if he were slipping away from her grasp. Mom, I want to stay, he murmured, his small voice fragile, swallowing back morning light. No. Liam, you have to fight. Please. Jenna felt her grip weaken as he began to drift toward the figure, toward the whispers that promised sanctuary from the horror. Frantic, she searched for some weapon against the dark, something, anything to re-establish the bond that was stretching thin. She was losing him, and panic clawed at her throat. An idea struck her, a desperate thought, a chance that felt utterly futile. If I can just dispel the whispers. Before she could think it through, she raised her voice over the nightmarish choir, unleashing a guttural scream born from the depths of her soul. You don't own us. We will not be yours. The reverberation echoed eerily through the clearing, and for a moment, everything stilled. The shadows froze in their motion, the whispers halted as if time had paused. Then, the ground beneath them roared, shards of darkness twisting upwards like furious serpents, lashing out in search of her resolve. Flee! Jenna shouted, seizing Liam's hand. Now! But as they stumbled back, closer to the edge of the radiance, she felt the heaviness of doubt creeping back, sinking into her heart. Would they escape this nightmare? Or had she just awakened an even darker truth that lay hidden beneath the very stones that now pulsed with an insatiable hunger? With every beat of her heart, darkness surged, and she knew they were still very much in danger. What new horror awaited them on the other side of light? The pulsing glow intensified, and the shadows writhed like angry serpents, clawing at Jenna's resolve. She yanked Liam closer, her heartbeat rattling in her chest louder than the menacing whispers that echoed all around. "We have to get away from here." As they turned to flee, Jenna soon realized the radiant light didn't extend far beyond the stones. The moment they crossed that threshold, everything would plunge into utter darkness. She hesitated. The thought of plunging into that abyss filled her bones with dread, but the figures in the shadows loomed closer, swirling with a hunger that chilled the air. "We don't have a choice," she hissed, pushing Liam forward. The boundary between the light and the darkness shimmered like an icy lake. Heart racing, she took a breath and darted past the ominous perimeter. Shadows lunged forward, brushing against her skin like icy fingers, but she pressed on, determined to escape. Liam squeezed her hand, his small frame trembling. Suddenly, the ground bucked beneath them, an angry roar filled the air, making it hard to breathe. They stumbled, falling against each other as the wave of darkness rippled through the clearing, swallowing what little light remained. Jenna's heart raced as panic spiraled through her veins. "Stay with me," she shouted, clenching his hand like a vice. "Mom!" Liam's voice cracked, echoed through the void. The laughter morphed, becoming a sinister ululation that made her skin crawl. She tightened her grip on Liam, fighting the urge to look back, but the whispers grew loud, too loud. They seeped into her mind, insistent and enticing. "Join us in the shadows," they taunted, a dissonant harmony reaching into her soul. "You can't escape your fate. What do you want from us?" Jenna yelled, searching the darkness for any sign of their pursuers. The figure she had seen before now moved among the ruins, the hollow eyes glimmering like stars in a pitch-black sky. It pointed a long, skeletal finger, beckoning with a promise that sent chills down Jenna's spine. The ground churned, distorted faces emerging from beneath the soil, mouths twisted in eternal screams. "We are the lost. You must give in." Despair clawed at her heart, but she would not let it consume her. "Liam, don't listen to them." She tugged him forward, pushing through the chaos, but the ground seemed to pull them back, dragging with it the whispering dread. Suddenly, the figure lunged forward, its face now inches from hers. It breathed, a fetid exhalation that gnawed at her senses. "You belong to us," it rasped, and Jenna felt her footing slip as the ground beneath her became slick and consuming. "No!" she screamed, rallying against the darkness. Vivid memories of home pulsed in her mind, warm sunlight, laughter, safety. "We will not be like you." Then, like a bolt of lightning, the realization struck her, a shred of hope woven deep inside. "Liam, hold on to me. Remember the stories we told, the ones about love and family." With that, she closed her eyes and anchored her thoughts in the warmth of their bond, the safety of the day, the laughter they shared as a family. She willed it into existence, pouring every ounce of love into her voice. "We are stronger together." As she shouted, a blinding light erupted from her core, illuminating the darkness around them. It crackled like thunder as the shadows recoiled, losing their grip on reality. The figure shrieked, and Jenna took Liam's hand, sprinting blindly towards the blinding radiance, but as they neared the center of the glow, the whispers swelled, morphing, twisting like boiling water. "You are not free yet, you still owe a debt." And then, just when they felt they might escape, the flash of a shadow broke through the light, and a cold hand clasped Jenna's ankle, dragging her backward. Her scream tore through the air, dissolving in the laughter that erupted around them. "Join us." With a heart-stopping jolt, Jenna realized their escape was just beginning, but the cost would be heavier than either could bear. Would they triumph over the darkness or fall victim to the whispers that promised eternal solace? The clearing pulsated again, and Jenna clung tightly to Liam, feeling the icy grip of despair inch closer. What more was waiting in the shadows to claim them? The darkness closed in around them like a suffocating blanket, thick and cold. Jenna felt the grip on her ankle tighten, pulling her down as she stumbled to regain her balance. Panic surged through her veins, igniting an all-consuming fear. "Liam!" she cried, her voice slicing through the eerie laughter echoing around them. The shadows whipped closer, their grotesque forms writhing with malice. "Don't let go." Liam's small voice fought its way through the chaos, filled with trembling resolve. Clenching his hand, Jenna used every ounce of strength left in her body to yank herself free from the unseen grasp. Adrenaline propelled her forward as the light pulsed again, flickering like a dying flame. They were at the cusp of the glow, the threshold between this world and whatever darkness lurked beyond. "Stay close," she called, willing Liam to remain at her side. The glow was fading, teetering on the brink of extinguishment. Shadows lashed out, the whispering voices attempting to entrap them once more. "You cannot run. You belong to the darkness." "No!" she screamed, the defiance burning bright in her chest. "We are not yours." With one last push, they lunged into the light, and it engulfed them, a warm cocoon amidst the cold abyss, but the moment of refuge was short-lived. As the glow enveloped them, Jenna felt the very essence of her being scrutinized, as if the light itself was searching for something hidden deep within her. It felt like an hour had passed, and yet it was a mere blink. The shadows halted, sinister but waiting, watching, then, with a jolt, the glow flickered. "What do you want?" Jenna's voice faltered, terror thickening her throat as she realized that the light her only hope was dwindling. A low, guttural voice reverberated from the dark. "You bear the mark, the debt you owe." The skeletal figure emerged again, its hollow eyes boring into Jenna's very soul. "You cannot hide from the past. We are always watching." The chilling sensation of helplessness washed over her. "What do you mean?" Jenna felt the world slipping beneath her. "What past? What debt?" "Your blood calls to us," the figure rasped. The shadows followed its lead, flickering and snapping around like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. "Your family has played our game before. It is your turn now." Jenna shouted, that burst of courage igniting in her chest again. "We aren't playing any game." A sickening laugh filled the clearing, a chorus of sinister voices echoing from every direction. "You will learn or you will perish." The ground beneath her began to tremble, sending fissures cracking through the earth like lightning slicing through the sky. Jenna could feel the weight of the shadows pressing down, cold and relentless. "Liam, we have to move. Don't let go of my hand." Just as she urged him forward, the glow pulsed violently, swirling like a storm. Liam tugged at her, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, I can see something in the dark." In that moment, her stomach dropped as a larger shadow emerged from the depths of the void, taking shape. It loomed above, massive and shapeless, its presence commanding terror. "You owe us your heart. A sacrifice must be made." Jenna's breath quickened. Sacrifice? What could they possibly want? With every ounce of strength left, she yelled against the roaring whispers, "We will not pay." But her resolve felt like a mere whisper fading into the cacophony around them. The shadows howled in anger, and the ground bucked again, sending them sprawling. Would they be consumed by the darkness? What would it take for them to break free? As the shadow loomed closer, Jenna felt the terrifying truth settle in her bones. The whispering intensified, drowning out her thoughts, and the last thing she saw was the radiant glow flickering one final time before everything went black. What price would they pay to survive? Darkness enveloped them, a smothering cloak that swallowed any trace of warmth. Jenna's heart raced, each beat hammering against her chest as she searched the yawning void around her. "Liam." A thin whisper slipped through her lips. The silence burned painfully in her ears. "Mom." Came his voice, a weak beacon of hope in the suffocating dark. "Where are we?" "I'm here," she replied, desperate to soothe him, but her voice echoed hollowly, as if the night itself was mocking her. "Stay close. We'll find a way out." Assessing the void, Jenna struggled to find her bearings in the deep darkness. Shadows swirled like smoke, whispering secrets that clawed at her mind. They spoke of her bloodline, of sins buried beneath layers of snow and time. Warnings echoed, but truth mingled with fear. What had her family done to summon this torment? "Mom. I'm scared," Liam whined, his small body trembling next to her. "Me too," she admitted, squeezing his hand tight. "But we're going to get through this. We have to stay strong." Jenna's breath misted in the chilly air as she felt the weight of despair pressing down. The aura around them shifted, and she knew this was the Watcher, hungry for their fear, eager to entice them into oblivion. But they were more than prey, they were family. She wouldn't let the darkness tear them apart. Then, with a jolt, the surroundings transformed, the shadows thinned ever so slightly, revealing gnarled trees that writhed like restless spirits. Jenna recalled the townsfolk's warnings about the forest, and a realization crashed down on her: their family line had been tied to this place for centuries. The darkness thrived on heartache and sadness, the very emotions her abuser had cultivated while she suffered. "Listen, Liam," Jenna said, resolutely lifting her chin, "we need to confront this together. We can't let it take us." The light ahead pulsed faintly, like a distant heartbeat. They moved toward it, each step heavy but laced with determination. "What if it's a trap?" Liam's voice trembled with fear. "Maybe. But we can't stay in the dark, it will consume us." With each step, the whispers grew softer, drowned out by her defiance echoed in the silence. As they arrived at the threshold illuminated by the flickering glow, the haunting figure emerged once more, a specter of despair, but Jenna felt an unexpected surge of courage flow through her. "I know your game," she shouted, voice cutting into the air like a blade. "You think you can terrify us into submission." The figure recoiled, its form wavering uncertainly as the shadows seemed to flinch with uncertainty. Jenna sensed a shifting power, a chance to take control. "Liam, hold my hand tight," she said fiercely, fixing her gaze directly on the apparition. "You want to take my son. What you offer is unacceptable." It hissed, voice dancing honeyed flames over Jenna's skin. "You cannot escape your fate. I refuse to surrender." Jenna's fierce resolve blazed like a fire, illuminating the dark corners of her doubts. "I want to let you win." With every ounce of love she felt for Liam, she raised her free hand as if to manifest her will. "You are not stronger than our bond." Her voice rang out, challenging the gathering shadows, and in that moment, light cascaded from within, forcing the darkness back. Light erupted, igniting the clearing like 1,000 suns rising at once. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as Jenna and Liam stood firm together. The figure buckled, twisting in agony as the pulse of light radiated outwards, filling the space with warmth. Jenna gasped as the memory of home rushed back, the laughter, the embraces, everything she fought for. "Let us go!" she yelled, her voice shaking the very air they had drowned under. With a final, tormented wail, the shadows shattered, scattering into darkness, snuffed out like a wick burning too low. The warmth of the clearing blossomed, radiating around them like life itself. That in an instant, they were back on the forest floor, snow blanketing their surroundings. Jenna gasped, sucking in cold air, and looked down at Liam, who trembled at her side. His eyes shone wide with astonishment, relief mingling with disbelief. "We did it, Mom." He exhaled, joy breaking through the distress that clung to them. "Yes. We were strong together," she smiled, pulling him tightly into an embrace. The forest stood silent around them, as though it had breathed a collective sigh of relief, but there was still a weight within her, a vexing truth that whispered through her mind that the Watcher would not simply abandon them nor let the bitterness of the past fade so easily. Still, they had emerged stronger, illuminated by their bond, the love they shared outshining even the darkest horrors. "Let us go home, Liam," she whispered, the warmth of maternal love wrapping around them. They turned, taking one last lingering look at the trees, the whispers finally silenced. As they stepped away from that haunted place, Jenna felt hope bloom in her chest. No longer defined by shadows, they were stepping into the light of possibility, but as they ventured into the snowy embrace of dawn, a chilling wind swept through the trees. There among the winds, a familiar voice whispered her name, hauntingly sweet, echoing faintly through the snow-smeared landscape. Yet this time, they were not scared. They were united, a mother and son ready to rewrite their story in the light that. If you want more stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Hit that bell and select all notifications so you don't miss what's next. Smash that like button to fuel my creative fire, and flood the comments section with your thoughts, theories, and reactions. I want to hear everything. And don't wait even 1 second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Only true fans know how vital it is to support this channel with your actions.